We have had bitter cold temps in our area. It has been in the negatives, which is not common for here, and I am honestly such a wimp about it. And so this week we had a slow week inside, working on some inside projects, of course, dreaming of being outside more comfortably in the summer, but ultimately cooking a lot and sewing a little fun project. What I am making right now is actually a brand new recipe that came highly recommended to me by one of my friends, and we loved it. I made so many changes to the original recipe because I was not prepared enough and I did not have any of the ingredients, but it still turned out so good. It's basically a beef enchilada casserole, and you just ground up some ground beef, make this sort of enchilada sauce, and shred some fresh cheese and then layer it in a sheet pan with tortillas, and it was so tasty. If you are gluten or grain-free, this recipe works really well with the siete almond flour tortillas or the cassava flour tortillas. It definitely tastes the best with corn tortillas, which is obviously gluten-free but not grain-free. But if you want to find a way to use some of those up, it works really well with that. We had a pack in our freezer still, and so we did want to use them up, and it just works so much better because you don't have to worry about them not holding up because it's part of the casserole layer. I know many of you guys will be curious about me incorporating way more dairy into my diet. To be honest, I have tolerated it so well that I do not see any reason to eliminate it. This has been a wonderful discovery for me, and so this recipe does have freshly shredded real cheese, and I love being able to tolerate it. So that is why you guys are going to start seeing a little bit less exclusively dairy-free recipes on here. I recently decided that I do not sew enough clothes for my daughter. I'm not really a sentimental person or one to really keep stuff for sentimental reasons, but I just love the idea of her being able to look back and have a stash of handmade dresses that I made her whenever she gets older. And so that is the project for this week. I am making her a really cute, if I do say so myself, rather detailed dress. Obviously, I love sewing, so something that might come as a shock is that I literally just learned how to hand sew, and I did that by using Skillshare, who happens to be the sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts. You can learn about so many things on Skillshare like film, illustration, design, sewing, which you guys know I love, and baking. Skillshare can help you take your career, hobbies, or your side hustle to the next level. Like I mentioned, I am learning more about sewing on Skillshare, specifically how to hand sew. If you want to take a class on Skillshare and learn more, you can get started today. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. The pattern I am using for this adorable little sundress is from Oh Me Oh My Sewing. It is their Korean dress. I had such a fun time making this. I always go to Oh Me Oh My Sewing for patterns for kids because for a couple reasons. One, they are so cute with wonderful instructions. And two, she makes it so easy to print out patterns at home, which I find is something I do more often with kids' patterns because as opposed to getting a pattern printed and cutting out your size that likely won't change too much, your kids are constantly changing sizes, so it's just easier to print it at home. And the way that she lays out the PDF makes it so easy. I have yet to purchase and print a pattern at home that makes it as easy as she does. So if you are wanting to print your patterns out at home, start with one of her patterns. It is so easy. I am making this little sundress out of fabric that I thrifted probably a few months ago from our local thrift shop. I could not resist its cute, colorful design. There was only 1 yard of it, so I knew it would be a kid's dress, and I am just so happy with the way that this fabric looks on this dress. While this dress comes together, I want to take the opportunity to tell you guys about another woman that I honestly think you should go follow, and that is Lauren from Rustic Honey. Lauren is also sewing a dress for her daughter this week, and it will be the most darling little dress. She is writing her own pattern and pulling from her fabric stash and going for a vintage expired look, so I know that you guys will just love it. Lauren is a mom of 4 and she lives on a farm raising cattle and row crops. Her channel is all about sharing the heart of cozy farmhouse living, from rustic recipes, country traditions, farm life, thrifted decor, and handmade touches. I know that you guys will love her warm and cozy channel, so grab yourself a homemade latte and go check out her videos. As you can see, I am taking on learning a new skill in my kitchen, and that is cooking with whole grains. This is my first or second attempt at making a bread loaf. I have guidance from all of my sisters who also bake with whole grains, and they honestly turned out really tasty. I am so excited to start incorporating this into our diets more, just because I've definitely learned that whole grains have a lot of added value and nutrients, and so this is something that I have been really looking forward to doing more of. While I was at it, I also mixed up a batch of English muffins with the whole grain flour. I used the exact same recipe that I would always use, which is from my sister's cookbook. And then I just subbed out the whole grains 1 for 1, and they turned out totally fine. And then once those were rising, I had laid out 2 pounds of pork sausage and was just going to make ahead some breakfast sausage patties. I wanted to do some make ahead breakfast sandwiches, but then I realized that it's really not that hard to fry up an egg, but to have the English muffins already made and the pork sausage patties already made was the bulk of the work. And so I just got those things done so that breakfast could be really nutritious and really easy for the remainder of the week. I did one final stretch and fold on my whole wheat bread before closing the kitchen for the evening and coming back in the morning to get all of these items baked. I am definitely not someone who uses precise measures in my baking, and I'm definitely not an expert, but I have had so much fun just experimenting and learning, and ultimately realizing that if one thing doesn't turn out, it's not the end of the world. We can take the lesson and apply it to the next batch or the next pie or the next round of cookies and learn from there. With this particular recipe, the thing that I learned is that you have to have lower heat whenever you fry up your English muffins. I definitely burned them pretty bad on the first round, which is the one I decided to record. So that is what you're going to see. But the next round actually turned out way better because I let my skillet cool off and I let it cook a lot slower, which is what it needed to do. For the ones that were burnt, I just took the cheese grater and grated off the burnt edges so that we could still eat them. Back in the sewing room, this little sundress came together honestly a lot quicker than I thought it would. I had it mostly assembled within 1 day of sewing, and then I had to come down and attach the sleeves, do some buttons, and obviously just do some finishing touches. Doing this dress was so motivating to me, and you will definitely be seeing more kids' clothes on this channel, and I don't know if that's something you guys want to see or not, but I have loved making this and having what I consider to be an heirloom piece. What you are seeing now is me working on the sleeves. I pre-hemmed them just to make it a little bit easier on myself. Attaching the sleeves was actually really, really hard. I don't think I've ever sewn a children's dress with sleeves. I've sewn them with tank top type style, so there's no sleeves to attach. It was so hard. That was definitely the hardest part of this dress, but very doable should you attempt to make it yourself. If you are watching this and you want to attempt making kids patterns or kids clothing, but you don't necessarily want to tackle what I would consider to be an adventurous beginner pattern, I would recommend going to Omio My Sewing and checking out her easy woven overalls pattern. I have made that pattern at least 10 times. I have it printed in like 5 different sizes. I love that pattern. I'm actually in the middle of making another pair right now. It is so easy. It comes together so quickly. You will learn a lot, but definitely won't frustrate you a ton. So if this one feels like a little bit more than you want to tackle, I definitely recommend checking out that one. I am so proud of how this little sundress turned out. Thank you so much for watching the process of me making it. As always, I hope this video was inspiring to you. I will see you guys next week here on Our Sweet Sunny Days.